Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the BSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and enable notifications to receive all the updates from these match recaps and all other content on the channel. Follow us on social media site BSP on Twitter, Pitchside Pod on Instagram, and listen to our podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform. We're coming, of course, straight after the game between Liverpool and Chelsea ended at Anfield. Another loss for Liverpool at home. The bad form continues, 5 on the bounce now at Anfield, 1 goal in those 5 games. It is pretty ridiculous form at the moment, but it's enough of that. Let's get into the details of that game. Of course, Liverpool had Fabinho back from injury. They started him right into the starting lineup of this game, which I thought in the grand scheme of things wasn't exactly the smartest of decisions. Chelsea started with the same formation, the 3-4-2-1 really. Mount and Ziyech up front behind Werner, and Mount was really incredible, by the way. We're going to get to him in a moment. Kabak was partnering with Fabinho up front, and I think the motto of the game was clear. After the first 5 to 10 minutes where the game was pretty conservative, there was no clear advantage for any club over the other. Liverpool having more of possession in the first 10 minutes, Chelsea trying to see how maybe Klopp is going to approach the game, and after the first 10 minutes it was clear how Liverpool are going to be approaching the game, and it turned out to be the high line. Liverpool played a pretty standard high line, if you ask me, pushing back the defenders, pushing them high up the pitch. Fabinho and Kabak were pretty standing at the halfway line, and that is a double-edged sword really, that high line. If anything, you need to watch Bayern to know how bad could this go if you really do it wrong, because Liverpool did it wrong. They were squeezing themselves up in the middle, and Chelsea had a lot of runners and a lot of good passes as well to pick those switch diagonals that they do from the right to left, left to right, opening spaces just like that. And after the first 10 minutes, Chelsea started getting more possession, realizing that the high line is going to help them, and with the speed and pace that they have, of course, and the good passes that they have, the dynamic nature of the likes of James, Chilwell, Mount, Ziyech, and Jorginho, also Van up front, who moved a lot up front. He didn't score, although his goal was chalked off rightfully for offside. I mean, it's the tightest of margins, but VAR decides these days. The goal was chalked off, but then, of course, late on in the first half, Mason Mount, arguably not inarguably really, the game's best player from Chelsea from both sides, scoring a beautiful goal. The pass from Conte was terrific, and of course on the second or third time properly that Chelsea got through that high line of Liverpool with the diagonal long ball from Conte, the ball controlled sweetly by Mount, gets past Fabinho and slots it in the bottom corner, far away from Alisson's reach. 1-0 for Chelsea, a lead at half-time that is very, very precious for the Blues, and it's all about game management from there. The second half started with Liverpool trying to go really high, trying to smother Chelsea, pin them in their defense, and it didn't work because Chelsea were defending smartly. They weren't trying to be bold or trying to be stretched out, because there was no real movement from Liverpool, from Firmino in particular. Salah, I thought, who was the best player from Liverpool, Mo Salah, who's subbed off for I don't think a real understandable reason. He was subbed off for Diogo Jota, and from there, of course, I think the game went all wrong for Liverpool, and Chelsea were really happy to just sit deep, play on the counter, play on the high line, and Milner was introduced, and I thought personally that he might introduce him for Alexander-Arnold to cover that line, because Alexander-Arnold was pushing so high that he doesn't make recovery runs really just to track back and help defensively. I thought that substitution would happen. It didn't, and Chelsea continued to target that right-hand side in particular, continued to play long balls behind the defenders, and they almost had the second goal on a couple of opportunities, but the decision-making in the final third didn't exactly go to plan. But in the last 10 minutes, Thomas Tuchel realized that he should go full defending mode, and he went for it. He really stopped attacking, stopped going all out, and he ended by defending pretty well in the last 10 minutes. Christensen in particular was great. He took off everything that Liverpool had. He defended everything Liverpool threw at them, and overall, one shot on target, that was a header from Wijnaldum that was really a sort of a careless header that didn't bother Mendy a lot. Edward Mendy didn't have a lot to do in the game, while Alisson had a couple of important saves to make early on in the second half and also late on in the second half. against Timo Werner. I mean, it was a rough game for Liverpool. The management from Tuchel was superb, the defending from Liverpool was horrible, the high line was costly eventually, and that's what happens when there is speed and there is pace and good movement, again in particular from Mount, inarguably man of the match for me, best performance, best player. He's a real gem, that player. He's certainly justifying Frank Lampard's confidence in him as well as Thomas Tuchel's confidence in him, and Chelsea continue to pick up points. They are now currently 4th at the table. They jump over Everton, who were in the top 4 before this match, but Liverpool now dropped to 7th in the table behind West Ham, and their form at home is just ridiculous. 5 on the bounce at Anfield, and you know, overall 1 in their last 5 games, 1 win in their last 5. It is just incredibly bad for Liverpool. I don't know how Jurgen Klopp is going to be dealing with this. It doesn't look like the top 4 positions are going to be anywhere close for Liverpool this season. They look in serious jeopardy, and if they continue their form like this, it's not going to be good. It doesn't look good for Liverpool already, and it looks like they will have to win the Champions League in order to enter it. The top 4 spots are really being in jeopardy for Liverpool at the moment. For Chelsea, a very commendable performance. Defensively, offensively, picked up their moments to score, and Thomas Tuchel game management was just brilliant. They deserve the victory thoroughly and completely. That's it from me for this match. Thank you for watching / listening. I'm your boy, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive the updates from these match recaps and all the content on the channel. Follow us on social media site PSP on Twitter, Pitchside Pod on Instagram, and listen to our podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform dropping tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.